I'm also looking forward to our next item. We're going to be learning about dealing with burnout from Chloe. And I don't know about Chloe's last name. She's going to have to say it for us.
I know it's really hard, but if it's Massdaghi, I know it looks like it, and you're like, what is that? It's funny.
Massdaghi?
Yeah, yeah. I always do this game where people try to guess where it's from. So usually the common ones I get is it Italian or Japanese? And it's neither. That's the fun one. All right, let's do this. Okay, you guys, I'm going to share my screen if that's possible. Krista, I have permission. I do have permission. Yes. All right, can you all see my screen? Yes? Okay, cool. All right, so the title is Active Balance, but to be honest, the reason why it's called Active Balance is because one, where balance is off between our life and our personal life, then we have a problem, and usually that's when we start noticing we're burned out. I don't really need to dive into the slide, but you guys know who I am, I hope. But if not, like, my name is Chloe Massdaghi, and you might know me from Point 3, or We Are Hackers, formerly known as Women Hackers, or WOSEC. All right, so this is what I want you to do. We're gonna do some visioning. So I want you to imagine you're driving in your car. And while you're driving in your car, you're going to be merging into another lane. Now there's a part of you that doesn't want to look in the side mirror. You're like, well, if I don't look in the side mirror, then, you know, maybe I'll get an accident. Then I don't have to do that assignment, or maybe I don't need to do that project. And this is when you have a huge warning sign that you are dealing with an extreme burnout. Another example is when you start noticing if you are burned out. It used to take you a few minutes to send an email, but now it's taking you like 10 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes days, and then your inbox is so flooded that you just can't do it anymore. Or better yet, when you have these situations where you have friends and family and colleagues that are trying to reach you, but you press ignore or you don't text back right away. And usually it's because you're busy, but there's also a part of you that feels like it's another task. Talking to this person is going to be another task for you. Or you feel like they're going to request something from you and you don't have any more to give at this point. You just feel kind of trapped and feel really, really stuck. And then there's emotions that are associated with burnout, where you can feel very sad to suddenly very angry. I know whenever I look at Trump's tweets, I literally want to throw my phone really hard. But the thing is like the sudden emotion of anger and sadness is something that we're all dealing with right now, especially during a pandemic. And pandemics bring out this. They bring out these fears. It makes us feel trapped. It makes us feel empty. To a certain extent, we feel like we have no control in our life. And usually that feeling of lacking of control, it drains us. It drains our energy. And emotional burnout is real. It's just like regular burnout, but it's more emotions involved versus a work. Or sometimes you procrastinate. Sometimes we'll like push out dates. We'll be like, oh yeah, I need to get that done. Well, let me see here. The last date is actually in 2 days. Okay, I don't need to get it done. And so you wait till the very last minute, or sometimes you're like, you'll extend the time. But usually the one sign that we all know is that it's very strange. We just, no matter how much sleep we get, we just feel so exhausted. We feel so tired. And this is the most common trait of burnout. Now, I want to just let you know that sometimes it might be good to get your vitals checked. For example, I felt really, really low in energy, and I was like, this doesn't feel like me usually. So I went to go and get blood check for iron because I'm a vegan. It sucks sometimes because you have low iron. Or sometimes you'll have vitamin B deficiencies. So I got checked and my iron levels were a little bit low. Started taking iron, felt much better. So I really recommend that on top of taking precautions and taking care of yourself with burnout, also get checked out by your doctor to make sure that your vitamins are all okay and that your body is healthy. So overall, burnout, what it is like, it's like as if you are a device yourself and you are at 5% or less of a battery charge. meaning you're not able to function fully. You don't feel fully functional. You just feel kind of stuck in one place and you just can't keep giving. And I just want to let you guys know I'm not a therapist at all, but I have worked with therapists to try to help others deal with burnout, because in the InfoSec community, especially the hacker community, so many of us are actually really burned out. And it's because we're an industry that works 24/7. Not too many industries have that. So we don't know when we're on call. We're constantly having to feel like we're on the edge. So keep that in mind. But with the pandemic, things have escalated a lot because we're dealing with a lot of emotions right now, especially in the US when we're turning on the news. It is a surreal time. But I just want you guys to know that you're not alone during this and don't feel alone or isolated. Now, the next thing to note is, what is burnout? Ooh, can I mute someone? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so what is burnout? So burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. Now, to know about stress is, the difference between stress and burnout is that with stress, you're like, okay, if I have this glass of red wine, or I have a bubble bath, or if I go for a walk, I'm gonna feel a little bit better. With burnout, you could do all those things collectively and still not feel better. That's the difference between burnout. Burnout is when you have you've overreached your capacity. Stress is like, sometimes there's a healthy stress involved where you just are on your toes. But just note that there's two very different things. Now, there's a quiz link right there that you can check out. The Burnout Index is a really helpful quiz if you need to find out if you are burned out or not. But I just want to let you guys know that if you enjoy your job and the work that you do, that quiz is not going to probably be as applicable to you. It's a good quiz to see whether or not you are happy with your job and if you are dealing with burnout, or if you don't like your job and you're dealing with burnout. Now, usually when we say how to prevent burnout, exercise, eat balanced diet, practice good sleep habits, ask for help, that's wonderful, except that we can't really go out and about that much. And I don't know if anyone has tried running with a mask on. It's really hard, but you have to do it. Eating a balanced diet can be challenging too when your emotions are all over the place. We tend to either binge eat, or we're so overly anxious we can't even think of eating. We skip meals because we're not even thinking about it. Also, dealing with good sleep habits. How do we do that if we're constantly stressed? Stressed out about our daily life, or we have to-do things that just keep going over and over and above our head. And asking for help is great too. But I want to talk it too a little bit further. These are just little simple things that you can do, but in reality, it's not good enough, especially during this time. So the first thing you need to do is have self-awareness. You need to check in with yourself. If you're feeling like you're taking more than usual to complete a task or a project or an email, maybe think about maybe taking a break. The other thing to do is, like, if you sleep and you just don't feel so tired still, maybe that's another one. Sometimes self-awareness comes when we certainly see ourselves drinking a little bit more than our usual. That's one way. Or also if we are drinking more caffeine than usual. So having that self-awareness of like where you're standing, how your energy levels are, if you're feeling like this sense of like, I just don't know what's going on with me, it's really important to keep yourself in check. And the best way how to do that, believe it or not, is through journaling. So you can journal every day, or you can journal, once a week, whatever you can do. I really, really recommend that, because you'll see certain trends in your writing where you'll say the exact same situation over and over and over. And you want to keep an eye on that in case if you need to get some assistance on that, or for you to have a better understanding of what's really happening deep down inside, because we're so overwhelmed with so many things happening all the time. And we have constant distractions all the time that we don't really know how to check in with ourselves. So journaling is really good. Some people, they meditate to do it. So just keep that in mind. Now, a lot of you guys know that I will take breaks where you won't hear from me for like a day or two. And the reason for that is because I do device breaks, or I call a tech detox. I'm not saying throw your phones out the window or throw it on the ground like this. And by the way, this is an amazing music video. But the thing is to know about this part is that, yes, there's going to be moments where you want to throw your phone because you just can't take it anymore, or you're frustrated. But just please take a break. What I mean by that is once a week, take a break. That means no InfoSec once a week. That means one whole day dedicated to no InfoSec. And there's a reason for that. It's because InfoSec is 24/7, Twitter is 24/7, most of your social media is 24/7, emails are 24/7. You never get a break. And we also need to have a life outside of InfoSec, because when we're not having a life outside of InfoSec, our balance is going to be off. And we're going to feel overworked. We're going to feel overwhelmed because we're in the same area all the time. So it's really important to take a break. And turning off your devices, getting off of social media and everything once a week is really important. You do it for a few hours to 6 to 8 hours, or for a day. Depending how bad your burnout is or the feelings you're starting to have, I highly recommend doing 1 day per week if you can. If not, do a chunk of time, but let your loved ones know that you are going to be turning your phone off and devices off, and you'll be unreachable during that time. I really recommend this for you to be okay with yourself during this time. Now, if you're starting to feel like you're really overly exhausted and everything like that, and you know you have burnout, you need to take more than 1 day off. So you need to tell your manager, unfortunately, that you need to take some time off, but we'll dive into that in a bit later. Write it down. I cannot say this enough. I know a lot of people are like, but Chloe, I don't like to-do lists. They scare me because I see all the things I need to do. That's exactly the problem, right? That lets you know really how much you've taken on. But it's okay, because when you cross it out, it feels amazing. And I have my to-do list. I take it everywhere I go. Well, in the house, because I'm not going outside. But take it everywhere that you go in your home. So if something pops in, you're like, oh, I have to do this or that you can free the room in your brain for other things. This is really good if you're dealing with insomnia, or having problems falling asleep, or having problems keeping asleep during the night. Have your to-do list by your bed, and then make notes of anything that comes to your mind. Because usually what happens is when we lay on our pillow and we're like, oh, I need to send that email out. Oh, I forgot to call that person. And you're going to think about it. The thing is, put it on a piece of paper and then forget about it and look at it later. And if you want a good way how to refresh your memory is in the morning when you're ready to look at your to-do list and think of what are things you need to prioritize and which ones you don't. You can either highlight them or you can do it in a different color, but whatever works best for you. But I recommend doing it for your work and personal, and you can have it on the same page if you want. Now, this is the part where it's going to be tricky, because a lot of times when people are burnt out, it's because they're unhappy at their work, or they're unhappy at the things going on around them. And so it's a time to reevaluate your life. And so I just want to let you know, for all the people that are underrepresented in their office or in their jobs or whatnot, you're going to be more burned out, and burned out a lot faster than most folks. And the reason for that is that underrepresented people, they usually take on 2.5 times more of the work than the people that are usually represented in the space or on the team. You're going to be taking on more roles. And this is actually something that's common across everyone, is that sometimes some of us are taking on multiple jobs or multiple hats, multiple roles, different things, tasks that were never part of your job, but you have to put on. And that's something that's going to burn you out so fast. So it's really important to have these one-on-ones with your manager. If you're a manager yourself, set up a one-on-one that's like 15 minutes to 30 minutes per week with each of your employees. It is so important that you do that, because then you guys can go over the list of items that need to be done and help prioritize it. But also, if you're a manager and you've noticed that the performance level has changed, like the emails are not as fast or response, or they're late or whatnot on assignments, please keep in mind that person might be dealing with burnout. It's also really good if you are an employer to push for your company to have a mental health day. So basically having 1 day a month that your employees can do whatever they want. If it is to spend for personal time, they can do so, or to work and invest on their own self and their education or whatever makes them happy. But to have that one day once a month for them to unplug. And I recommend a Friday or a Monday, so then they can have a 3-day weekend. It really does show a great employee appreciation, and it shows that you're investing in their mental health during this time. Now, if you don't have a manager that you're able to have these conversations and you really need to take time off and you feel guilty if you take time off, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you have to take time off, because if you don't take time off, you're gonna make things worse for your team. You're gonna fall behind in your work. You're not gonna be good on your A game when you are burned out. So it's really, really important for you to take a break and take a step back. And what I mean by break, take a few days off and tell your employer you need to take a few days off. They should be respectful of that. And if they have a problem with that, I think it's time for you to look elsewhere, because every company should invest in their people, especially their security team, because without a good security team or a security team that feels like the company is invested in them, it's so important, because if you have people that are burned out on your security team, you're more likely to deal with situations of burnout. And that is going to be really, really bad for you, because without a good security team, guess what? Not investing in your security or your security team, you won't have a product, and you might lose your company because you've lost your customers' trust. So it's really important is to push forward for yourself for mental health. So main takeaways. When you're feeling overwhelmed, do a device detox. Once again, you want to do this for a few hours, do a whole day, or even more of a couple of days. So if you're feeling really burned out, and even if you take one day off and it wasn't enough, take 3. Sometimes it might be good just to take a week or 2 weeks, depending how bad it is. When you feel overwhelmed, invest in yourself. I do mean this. If you don't invest in yourself, who else is going to invest in you? So think of that. When you feel overwhelmed, ask for help. It's so important to have a good relationship with your manager or your office or your team or your family or your friends. If you need help, you need to go to them. And also, there's incredible organizations in InfoSec that have your back if you need help in anything. When you feel overwhelmed, write it down. I cannot push this enough. It's so important to have a to-do list. It will help you when it comes to coordinating anything and prioritizing. And we all know about prioritizing risk, right? So write it down. Also journal it. Last but not least, take a break. Like I said, you need to take a break every week right now. Take a few hours off to a whole day as with your device detox, but also enforce your work hours. So at times where you feel like you have your work hours are terrible and so bad, I want you to keep that in mind, okay? That's let's see here. If you're working, push for certain hours on your calendar, and then if anyone goes beyond that, remind them that these are your set hours. And if it's in a case of emergency or urgent thing, or they need something from you, to let you know in advance. And every company should respect that. You need to do that in emails. Keep a paper trail. It will protect you legally to make sure that you are being protected yourself. And yes, sometimes HR is not going to be there for you. So I really recommend having a good relationship with your manager or someone else in the company that is an executive to be able to push forward for these things. And put yourself first, because no one else is you cannot take care of another person or a company or a team or anything if you're not taking care of yourself. Because if you're burned out, you are going to be failing other people around you. When you feel overwhelmed, know you're not alone. I want you guys to know that. You should never feel alone right now. We have a wonderful InfoSec community that has your back, and there's so many great organizations that are here for you and people inside InfoSec that can actually mentor you, that can also talk to you and recommend resources for you. But most importantly, always ask this question: am I balancing my work and personal life? And if you're not, you need to take steps to fix it, because that means you're heading into burnout, or you already have been in burnout for a long time. And I just want to say, thank you guys for existing. I know it's a troubled time, and I hope you all staying safe. And if you have any questions, I'm here for you. If you're uncomfortable asking questions at this time, you can always DM me on Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn, whatever is best for you. But I just really want you guys to know you are so important, and just please note you're not alone. And I'm going to stop sharing. Boom.
Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you. I have to admit, this is really warm. This hat.
Yeah, that doesn't look like one you'll bring to Vegas next year.
Oh, well, this was the one who was supposed to go to Vegas with me. Yeah, oh well.
It's pretty hot there.
It is. But sometimes those casinos are really cold, so I always have a jacket with me. And then when I step outside, I'm like, I'm gonna catch a cold going in like this really hot, dry to like really, really cold weather. But yeah. But if anyone has any questions, I'm here. Anyone at this time. But if you feel uncomfortable, it's okay. You can always DM me too. I understand. Mental health is a hard one to talk about publicly.
I'm really glad you were able to build a mental health talk into our schedule, just because it's so important to everyone, and it's something that doesn't get talked about enough, and probably provided some people some inspiration on how they can move forward in a positive direction.
Yeah, I mean, I've dealt with burnout on and off since I've entered InfoSec. So it'll come in waves and I'll be like, okay, that's it. I'm taking a break for like 3 days. But yeah, it's really hard sometimes, especially right now. You're kind of feeling stuck at home and you're like, when is this whole pandemic going to be over? When are things going to get better? And we just don't know. We have to take each day by its own. And that's the hardest part for humans. We like to feel controlled, like we're in control somehow. But yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you for having me, you guys. Have a wonderful evening. I have to bounce. My dad is here, so I'll catch you guys later. All right, bye.